Hello, and welcome to another BIM one-on-one. Here we have a Revit versus Allplan. We have the sponsorship of BIM Week and BIM Campus for this event. And we have here Decio Ferreira, well-known, architect, urbanism technologies, senior BIM manager, associate at Foster & Partners in UK. This firm is working all over the world. A speaker at the university, and one of the most recognized experts of today's BIM solutions. And Sergi Ferrater, architect, urbanism technologies. Here we have all here are architects. Sorry for the inconvenience for some engineers, okay? But don't worry, we have this idea. Senior BIM manager, partner at ECON, working in Spain, but the whole global level also because are a global firm. And Allplan, Venti, and Synchro, recognized expert, really recognized. Okay, guys, let's go to the BIM one-on-one. You know that is divided in 4 parts, in 4 blocks. The first block is more about BIM modeling, is the automation, the maintenance, but most of all the architecture and the performance. Something quite important. Collaboration, then cybersecurity, security, and privacy. And the last part is talking about owners and how we deliver the decision making and deliver IPD. For the first question, Decio, for you, and then we change from one section to another, okay? I manage that. What is the architecture of your system? And in comparison with then when Sergi asked, then automatically compare your solutions because we are in a BIM one-on-one. And which is your recommendation? Okay.
Okay. Hi, everyone. Hi, Gustavo. Thanks for the invite. Hi, Sergi. Nice to meet you finally. Yeah, anyway, going back to your questions, I mean, regarding Revit, I don't know how Allplan actually works. It's one of the BIM softwares that I never ever used. So I'm kind of curious to see what Sergi will be sharing with us. But from Revit side, I mean, Revit, as it's one of the most known piece of softwares in the in this AEC industry. So it's quite simple. From the architectural, the way that Revit works, it's we can work with them with on a big project, small project, medium project, with working by my own on the whole project, by sharing the same model with more team members, team players from my team, from the architectural discipline, let's call this way. So it's quite flexible on that one. Okay, so it's easy to interact with the different teams. It's easy to link. It's easy to make that file work sharing, which will allow more than one user who use the same file at the same time. And one of the interesting things that it's one of the things that I really like in Revit, not only in Revit, but I would say like in all the softwares from Autodesk, it's this interoperability in between different systems, or in between different disciplines, or even in between different softwares. And from the other BIM softwares, I would say that even the other ones, I don't know exactly again how Allplan works, but Sergio will be sharing with us. But even Bentley Wide, or even ArchiCAD, or the other BIM softwares, the main ones, they are super keen to interact and share information across like Revit, in between Revit and the other disciplines, which I think this is like a very positive way of working, I would say, from Revit side.
Okay, Sergi. Thank you, Decio. Sergi.
Thank you, Gustavo. And well, about Allplan, yeah, in comparison to Revit, I would say that Allplan is a completely different oriented platform. I mean that I would say it's a project-oriented system. That means that we don't work in one central file. In Allplan, we work in a multi-file environment. That means that when you open a project, you have to set up a project with different file configuration and tree structure of files, depending on the teams you have to work and people have to work in the project. So it's a I would say it's a multi-file system. So I think it is quite well prepared to work with large projects, in spite of the fact that Allplan is mainly used in medium small offices. But I think it's quite well prepared to work in a team approach. So it's already prepared for the first from the first moment, from the first steps to work in a collaboration within a team. So I think this is one of the main key points of our plan, I would say, in comparison with maybe Archicad and Revit. So these are the key points.
Okay, guys, it's one of these rare occasions where we have here people not only experts in the systems, but with the whole experience of the top down of the projects, you know, in fostering the companies you manage. You are a Allplan expert. Decio has a great opportunity to know as a BIM manager of one of the largest and best architectural firm in the world. And then large projects is so important for the people because we go down this road of the performance. We are talking about the performance and your intuition about the performance. But, you know, is working good also in small projects and large projects? I am talking about the application itself, not the collaboration, because we're talking about on the performance of collaboration on the other, but the architecture contributes to the performance, or is working good, because there is a lot of myths and a lot of theory. You are the experts and you have the idea and the experience. Tell us how performed your system and go all the way and share your thoughts.
Sergio, you can go first.
Okay.
Well, the performance of Allplan is, I think, is one of the best achievements that the users can benefit from. Of course, you have to have a good graphic card, etc. But I think that the last hardwares have already all good graphic cards, etc. But maybe the points that I like most in performance in Allplan is the graphics. When you've got the first sketches or the first 3D models in Allplan, you get a very nice and different graphics, both in 2D, both in 3D, both in rendering, in very high level of rendering and very fast. And also it is very, very fast when you work in a project shared with others. So because you work in a small part of a project that is just your file, but you can share your file with others that can see, the others can see your file, or you can see others' files, and see how the project is growing, and you are just occupying a small part of the memory because you are working just on one file. And maybe you have 3, 4, 5, or 10 files in the background that you can upgrade at any time you need to see the progress of the job. So I would say that this functionality of working in different small parts of the project makes it very easy and quite fast and productive to work in a project in Allplan.
Okay, from Revit, just one thing that I would like to say, one thing that I didn't say before is like, Revit is quite flexible, in a way that, as I was saying, we can use one single file to develop the whole project itself. Well, depends of the size for sure, but anyway, let's say that it's possible to do it. Or we can have, as Sergio was saying as well, like having like a file for every single area or piece or you know, or specific zone or level, or, you know, even, you know, like a single service, let's say the electrical, you know, like something like that. So it depends the way, and this is, you know, this is quite important. Depends the way that you want to work with Revit. And then, you know, on top of that one, as I said before, or every single file that we have on that project, even if it's a small basement or the cladding itself or the core walls or whatever, you know, I can have one single user using that file, or I can, you know, make that, you know, file to be, you know, work shared. That is, you know, I can have more than one user, even if it's in a small, you know, piece of the project, so I can work on that one. And then all these pieces we can put them together in a kind of, you know, like a federated model. You know, and the federated model is where we will see the whole thing. You know, it's not, you know, we used to say one federated model. Yes, it's one federated model, but the thing is, this model is like a puzzle. So we have like small pieces, bits and pieces here and there, and then we need to put together, and then you will see everything, not only from the architectural side, but also from the structure, from the mechanical, electrical, plumbing, fire protection, whatever. So I think from this, you know, from this perspective, you know, Revit is quite, you know, flexible. Regarding performance, all these things that I'm explaining, you know, all this breakdown to understand the whole project, to know exactly how many users I'll be, you know, working on my team, you know, because again, it can be only one single person and I'm not, you know, concerned. I mean, I can have like 10 files with one single user and different bits and pieces, and I can work alone on that one, or having like, you know, 10 persons or 10 users using the same file from the architectural side, and they can be, you know, working in the same file. And performance, you know, it's quite important. Why? Because Revit, it's a very demanding software. Yes. So we need to have like a proper computer, a super, well, it's not super powerful for sure. The much I have, the, you know, the most I can take from them. But we need to have like a proper, you know, graphic card. We need to have like proper RAM, you know, capability. And again, we need to understand as well the software itself to understand if we really need a very 8-core computers or only 2, you know, because Revit doesn't use the 8 cores in one single task, if that makes sense. So it's kind of, you know, limited in some aspects here and there. So that's why it doesn't matter if I have like a 20 cores, like super high top, you know, and then at the end of the day, I'm not taking, you know, advantage of that one. And again, the way that you are structuring, I need to understand the computer itself, the performance of the computer that I have available to work on that one. And then that one will, you know, will say the rules that I need to put in place to make sure that all the team members will be working. But again, this is like, you know, there's a lot of things that we need to kind of take in consideration when we are working with Revit, because again, Revit is it's quite, you know, big, demanding piece of software, to be honest with you guys.
And then our systems, and we need to know, as you say in other events and other occasions, is our system. We need to know how the system works, and we need to increase the skills. So I am using some of your words in previous events, and that's why we are interested in the people to be skilled and prepared to perform. I see that your systems finally can be so similar, because one file but can be constructed and strategy for multi-file. On the other side, there is one of the examples. Allplan is one of the examples of a completely designed environment with all the disciplines there that are completely prepared. Is the learning curve can be a little slow in Allplan, but then it's going up. What's your opinion about this? Is similar, is my opinion. Can you tell me if I am right or I am wrong?
Well, from Revit's side, you know, the learning path, let's say, you know, the learning path that you need to, well, skills is important. I think for all the platforms or any software, I think skills is important. And if you don't have the proper skills, and if you don't understand the software, the platform that you are working, this might become, you know, the system itself, this might become a problem. So, you know, so you need to know exactly what will impact, your performance, because then at the end it will impact your project as well, and your productivity and the performance, and maybe you'll be delayed. There's a lot of things that we need to understand. And this is a very, massive, word that we need to pass through, because if people think that, if I know how to model walls or whatever in any software, but then they don't understand small things here and there, if they don't have those skills, enough to understand what will, cause these issues, then we might, end up in a big trouble or problem, and then we need to solve. And sometimes solving these problems might be like redoing all over again. I'm not saying that it's like, taking this one, send it over to, to the rubbish, whatever, but sometimes it's easier or even faster to redo all over again, rather than going, like element by element and fixing and selecting and whatever. But again, I'm pretty sure, and I'm, like based on my experience, I'm sure that skills, it's low, I would say, it's fundamental.
Yes, I completely agree. So in our plan, I would say we should have two kind of skills. One, of course, is 3D modeling, knowing about architecture, engineering, etc. But also some kind of organizing projects, how manage projects in a team, because the platform is completely prepared to work in a work breakdown structure of the project. So at the beginning of using the software, it seems difficult to understand it if you don't have before in this kind of multi-file environments. But this has been with this architecture for years, and this will not change for sure. And this is the core of our plan. So you need some kind of skills on understanding this. But once you have understanding, once you have understood the system, the productivity is really high. And so I would say, it's completely essential, basic to have these two kinds of skills.
Okay, I will go to the productivity, but in conclusion, we have the architecture and the performance, and in your experience, there is no problem at all with the systems, well managed, to large projects. I guess you have a lot of experience, not only in your company, but with a lot of experience in several projects, thousands of projects. Is that right? Multi-file and only one file, and then change, and then you adapt, and then it's quite incredible. And then the performance is right. If you do it right, the system is prepared to perform so well.
Yeah. I mean, I think you're right. I mean, but again, even though, even with all this flexibility and everything that is ready to be used as almost as we want, people need to understand how the software, and I'm talking about only the software. I'm not talking about the discipline, like the role, like being an architect or a structural engineer or a mechanical, electrical, or plumbing or fire protection engineer, because this is another, like another world, I would say, because from the software itself, the only thing that we need to understand and to start, planning ahead, it's you need to understand, you cannot say, okay, I only know how to work with Revit, but I don't understand anything about architecture or construction or whatever, because you need to know that, the project itself, we have project stages. The design will be developing over and over and over, until the very end, maybe after construction. And there's a lot of multiple different players around the project itself, like all these disciplines and everyone that we need to interact with them. So it's not only my 1, 10, 20, 50, 100, 200 models itself that I have producing from the architectural side, but I need to understand as well how many files, models I'm going to receive from the consultant, and which formats I'm going to use, the way that they are doing the breakdown, everything. Otherwise, this doesn't work. And again, it's not only like a discipline, like knowledge, but it's as well the platform itself. Now the software, and I'm talking only about the software. I'm just removing the software from everything, like the discipline, the BIM, whatever. But this, piece of software we need to understand, because then on this one, which is a part of all the system, I need to know exactly how it works, because then I need to put all of these files from everywhere, like even from us, I need to put in this piece of software, and I need to do all this coordination. I need to make sure that all the data is in that one, how I'm going to export, how I'm going to import, and so on. And this is only, like a matter of skills, Revit skills or technology skills, discipline skills, because we need to know from where this information should be come. And if it's coming from a different discipline, which is not the architecture, but I need to include that information into my drawings or into my model itself. So I need to know exactly how I'm going to work with this, flow of information. The information comes from there, it needs to be fed in here, it needs to be extracted, extrapolated, whatever, validated, and so on. It's, metadata or 3D geometry or whatever. I need to understand all of this, process. And again, sometimes, I mean, it's not sometimes, I would say 98% of the time, like I'm not going to say, 100%, but 98% of the time, it's a matter of management, the process itself, rather than the software. The software, it's like having a pen. You can be very good, super good modeling, but if you don't have the skills about all the process and controlling the thing, what you can get, you're not in a good, position. And this is another different, kind of, I would say, skills.
Yes, I completely agree. So this is crucial. Maybe in Allplan we have a small advantage, because anyone without any low knowledge of the system can understand that there are that the project is not a single file. So there are many users or players in the project, of course, and anyone has its own area of files to work in the project. So to solve performance problems, it is essential to know how to organize the project itself. I mean, the model by packages and users. So maybe this should be taught by.
But Sergi, Decio, from you, Sergi, your experience is working good right now and is expected to be better in the future. Right now, with this management team that you are in the management team, well managed, performs so well, and clients must be not worry about that. Yes,
I would say yes. Yeah. Right now, yes, it's a very good prepared.
And Decio?
Well, it depends. I mean, again, it's a matter of, skills always. I'm always talking about the sign because it depends. I don't want to say that yes, but it's not no as well. So it's kind of, it depends on your team, depends on the client, depends on your management, team or whatever.
Okay.
There's a lot of things that you need to consider. It's not like a yes or no, answer.
Okay, but okay. It's not really a critical aspect. It has problems. Okay, that's the point. It's not okay. Let's do a Formula One, and I have the Mercedes, or the other is the I don't know Alpha Tauri. I don't know. That's not the point. The point is now it's working and it's expected to work better, but not work better. My conclusion about your speech is both speeches is. Skills are fundamental and will be fundamental in the future, and some hardware or internet speed can increase the speed in the future, and then we are confident about the whole question. Let's talk about the productivity. I talk about automation because all these things must be automated, but let's talk about the automation on your system. Is the macros or the system that you have, or your trust on the template to have everything there, and then the modeling work. How your system automate tasks or create templates or do the work to increase productivity? Which kind of strategy use?
Well, in my point of view, Allplan has different wizards or assistants that can help you a lot in automate some functionality. For example, I have in mind several. In 2020, Allplan introduced the visual scripting to create parametric modeling of complex shapes and automate workflows.
Okay.
But I would say this is for advanced users, but it's very productive. But also, Allplan has worked since years with some assistants or wizards, they say, they call it wizards, which are kind of objects that are prepared to work with different kind of objects. For example, you can model a complex facade with also some kind of cover or some interaction with a window, etc., in just one system, and you can model different kind of this solution, I would say, constructive solution, in one tool, and this is quite interesting. And also, since Nemetschek acquired Graphisoft in 2006, in 2006, they used the GDL, the Geometric Description Language of ArchiCAD, to introduce some new tools in Allplan that are super parametric and very easy to use for the end user. And these new tools, based on the smart patch, which is so-called this parametric program, parametric language, increase the efficiency very, very, very much. And so right now we can model a stair in Allplan in a crazy way. And I say a stair, I would say a complex window with different accessories, etc. And using these smart parts, it's very easy to create very complex shapes. So it can automate some kind of objects very, very good in this matter.
Anyway, in Revit, as far as I remember, and I'm working in Revit since 2000, so 21 years ago almost. So all this, parametric, elements, it was always available. So, like doing a door or a window or, like a furniture, casework, whatever, it was quite simple. And the good thing, the simplest thing is, and because sometimes, I mean, I've started working with Revit architecture, so I'm an architect. I'm not IT, computational, like my background. I don't have anything regarding, like scripting or anything. And that was, the very, very good thing from Revit, because you don't need to have like all these kind of skills to start doing parametric things in Revit, because it's a matter of interacting with the geometry, adding some, dimensions into the geometry, assign those, dimensions to the geometry, and then, swap that dimension or adding more, flexibility into that dimension and saying that that's a parameter. And if it's a parameter, then I can change the value. And because it's assigned with the geometry, I can, super easily, change the geometry. And this was from the beginning. I mean, 20 years ago, 21 years ago, it was like that. But since then, for sure, everything changed, and, even the shapes itself, it's more organic, 2010. And so halfway, like they changed a lot. They've, adopted, or they implemented this adaptive components, which allows us to do more, even more organic. This again was 11 years ago. And 11 years ago, they started kind of, developing Dynamo. Even Dynamo itself, it's a very easy piece of software. And why? Because it's a visual programming. So I don't even need, any kind of, scripting background to start understanding how to play with Dynamo on top of Revit. So with Dynamo, again, this kind of, scripting or visual scripting or Dynamo or whatever, it's not adding new tools on top of Revit. It's like more a way like to drive the geometry in Revit, if that makes sense. And again, and because it's visual, it's like connecting from one node to another one with a single line here and there. For sure, we need to understand. It's quite simple. And again, even I'm not, again, I'm still not a scripting guy, and I don't know that much. And maybe I will not be able to know that much, as much as I know at this point. But it's quite easy for us to play with, like I don't need to understand, all this programming things. But if I want to expand my knowledge using Dynamo and programming with Python, which is, or C# or whatever, which, it will escalate much more, like the power of the tool itself. Yes, I still can do it. But again, this, this shift, I would say, from Dynamo and the forcing to use, the scripting, the pure scripting with C# or Python, this is not simple, for a, like I would say normal, as I am, architect. We need to have like another kind of, skills to understand, this kind of, change. And this, for sure, this will, improve everything. Like you can be more flexible working with Revit using this kind of, program, and it's faster. So regarding the performance itself, it's much way faster because you can go into Revit itself and play with the heart, with the organs itself, and then it's easier, So it's nothing like, as we have like normal generic tools. The generic tools needs to cover almost all the tasks, but then I can use that one, specific that one, and it's much way faster. And then even though, Revit, it's not only Revit, I mean, all the Autodesk softwares here and there, we can even use the API, okay, with C#, as I was saying. So with API, it's like, again, it's not like an external software as Dynamo, and now Dynamo needs to call different tasks here and there from Revit to play with them outside. It needs to push outside and then play here, and then it kinds of, it's bi-directional. I will change here, it will change in Revit. But with API, I can do whatever, but inside of Revit. Yeah. So this, like you can do whatever, any new feature, anything like plugins, converting, if you understand how Revit works. The only thing that, the API, it's not 100% open. So whatever it's possible to do, Autodesk, in this case, the software house needs to open the API for any, scripting guy can access to those tools and play with those tools. And that's the thing, because sometimes, all these improvements from Revit, the normal, I would say normal, like users, they want to see super fancy, tools that can do all this crazy stuff and so on. And sometimes there's a lot of things which is happening in the background, in the back end, I would say, which is like opening the API, for example. And this is a super massive change in the software itself. And for the, the expert users, it opens like a new, completely different world. And this is what makes a difference.
Okay, you go from the side of the productivity with the creativity. On the other side, I return to the question of how we, this is not a question, this is my guess for you, is on the other side, when you have the data, the numbering, the codes of doors, windows, you manage all of that because it's a mess. If you have 300, 1,000 doors, my God, this is a really a crazy thing to change something. And then you have this automation, this kind of automation questions is inside you find that is inside the design of your environment, or you must manage with question of whole skills, you a building you create. It's more think about maintenance. You maintain the system and this kind of 20% of the processes, that is 80% of the work, because creativity is something singular. But the hours of the day, at the end of the day, you spend a lot of hours in doing things that has less value if you don't The system is not prepared and you are not skilled. But the system is prepared to automate this kind of processes.
Yeah,
Not
Revit,
fancy, okay, but
yeah, Revit, it's super prepared for that one. So it's easy, again, as I was saying, it's easy to interact with Excel, for example, to double check and do dashboards or to manage data and then bring that data in or out. It depends on which flow you want to use this one. And again, you were saying about doors, and that's a good thing, you know, like a good example, I would say doors, windows, walls, whatever, because all this metadata needs to be fed into the system, needs to be extracted, needs to be maintained and managed at some point.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So all this, you know, this kind of workflows, well, we from Revit out of the box, I can't. I mean, there's no way, for example, if I want to import you know, a spreadsheet, for example, I can't. I need to import, not exporting, import. So if I want to import, I need always to connect that, you know, Revit with something by using ODBC, like, you know, MES project, or sorry, Access or anything, or using another, you know, database, or using plugins that export and import Excel files. All the elements have a proper ID, which is, you know, brilliant. And again, as you were saying, and even Sergio was saying, if we have a multi-file project, you know, and for example, I'm working on a project now, and we just delivered 300 models, only from the architectural side. So 300 models, if I need to open and manage all the information and make sure that it's more consistent across all the files, and everything is, you know, like in a proper structured way, without this flexibility of exporting, importing, managing, and maintaining all this information, it will be impossible. You know, even when you are exporting it into IFCs, you know, where are you going to export all this information to that specific area? DWFX, what is being exported, DWGs, whatever. So, you know, if there's no, you know, a proper understanding how the flow of information goes in and out, you'll end up on a very big problem.
Sergio?
I don't know what was exactly the question in this case, Gustavo.
Okay, no, you talk about the withers, but you go down the road of the creativity. You know, it's more Dynamo or more visual programming. I guess the consensus here is we are not coders, we are not programmers. It's hard for us to use the API. That's not the point for architects, especially, or for civil engineers. But I'm talking about the task, something that is important in the spreadsheets of the company to say, we spend 3 hours and we expect to spend only 2.5 hours next project, you know, because you automate. The question out of the box, that's the question. When you have Allplan out of the box or Revit out of the box, which is the productivity you have, and how these skills or this kind of tools increase the productivity from the first project out of the box to the 10th project, okay? And which tools has the system? And you say withers, go on, Sergey, if you understand the question.
Yeah, I would say, yeah, I mean, Revit has different APIs. That's maybe the difference between Allplan and Revit. We don't have any APIs in Nemetschek, so it's not an open system and not open to any developer. So still Nemetschek holds the key of the software, but
I'm talking about inside the system. I guess my understanding is we are talking about the system itself, out of the box and not complicated with some kind of, you know, programming system, modelers, skilled, well-known.
When you just see the program itself and you see the tools, the modeling tools that Allplan has, you see that there is something very, very well written inside, because the tools are very much parametric. You can, I think, it is a very good modeling software. because there are very easy to use tools, but this means there is a lot of programming behind. Okay, I'm not a programmer too, I'm an architect, and I see, because I understand and I know some kind of this parametric languages, but I see that it's very powerful. There are very powerful tools and other helping tools. For example, the wizard that's helped to create
that's the point.
Different different objects from different disciplines in one single tool, and that's quite, and that helps a lot to pass from a preliminary design to a constructive design, for example, and that helps a lot in the productivity side.
Last question about this block, and trust me, maintenance of the system. The word out of the box is the right word, and say it's new, and you take that and you have you do the work to create something that is prepared for the projects. But maintenance, the task you need to do to create the system that is working good, is working fine for projects, your productivity increase, and this maintenance is hard, or is a work done when you go one project, two project, third project is natural and then increase the value. But the maintenance question, on your opinion, is a quick short answer? No, short answer, no. You realize you have the duty, you have the right to say whatever you want to say. But this kind of thing for the people that has architects in the office and an organization and knows and want to know if these tasks that you develop are has a return of investment. It must be done all the time and needs people with the right skills and the procedures and the responsibilities well integrated. No, Decio? I'm sorry, because the microphone, yeah.
Sorry. Yeah. It was I was unmuted. Anyway, what I was saying is it's a tricky question because again,
I'm so sorry.
No worries. Maintaining the software itself, like the software itself, it's quite simple. Like installing the software itself, it's easy. It's a double click thing. There's no issues whatsoever with that one. So there's no massive, big, like rocket science on that one. So it's quite straightforward. What might need to have more, like more love, I would say, it's, for example, the template file itself. So you need to have a proper template. If you don't have a proper template, then you're in a very big trouble. And to do a template, you need to have like a proper knowledge of the software, how it works. So you need to do like the first project, go back to the template, second project, but go back, third, and so on and so on. So until you have like a proper template file, this takes time. I mean, in the time depends on your expertise. It can take time. For me, it can take like 1 week, 2 weeks, starting from the scratch and having something for them to start working. Or maybe it can take like, 1 year or more, because you'll do a project, it will take 2 or 3 months, and then you will increase or improve a bit more based on your previous experience, and so on and so on and so on. So from this specific, out of the box thing that you are planning and preparing, it takes time. The software itself, out of the box, it's like double click. There's no issues whatsoever. You just need to know which version you want to work, and that the newer versions are not compatible with the previous ones. So, and this is something that you need to know, and that's it. You don't need to have like more expertise. The rest, apart from this one, it depends on your environment, your intranet, your network, your premise, like whatever you have in-house. Okay, but this is another discussion.
Yeah, Allplan is similar. I mean, of course, you have project templates, and to create a project template is quite complex because you have to set different kind of information. So number of floors, number of users that will participate, depth of the tree of file structure. So you have to know well how Allplan organizes the project. But the thing is that every new project that you complete, you can get a new template from it. So all the work is done once, then you can benefit from it, creating new templates. So for maintenance, I would say, yes, you would need a Allplan expert, or I would say an Allplan expert to perform all the tasks that should prepare the project to be ready to start from the scratch. And anyone has all the tools prepared, all the levels prepared, all the information prepared, metadata, etc., etc. So I would say, yes, this is not an easy step to start, but yeah, any studio needs an Allplan expert to prepare these templates.
Okay, let's go to the second block, is collaboration and co-design. But first is the system, and I want from you some little answers about the system, about the system, your system, how it works in the collaboration matter. To proceed then with the conclusion about the collaboration, the architecture of the collaboration system. And the first is, which is your BIM server or the place where you can share?
Well, with Revit, is, you can have three different options. The network, your own premise, I would say, Revit server, which is a more controlled by the company itself, and then you have like this cloud-based platforms, which is, for example, BIM 360, and the three of them, works perfectly when sharing across all the players in the team.
Okay, thank you.
In Allplan, we've got BIM Plus, which is the name of this cloud platform where, the owner of the project can share data with the designers, and the designers can share data with any player in the project. So I would
now
say
that's the point. That now is more that the question in which IFC supports Revit and Allplan. Decio?
Sorry, say again?
And then the IFC version, if supports IFC. So sorry.
Yeah.
For the question is, but the MVD is the model view definition is architecture, mechanical, electrical, plumbing, structure, which MVD is. That is the disciplinary focus of the standard that is supported.
Yeah. So auto, as you know, like this is kind of controlled by the Building Smart International, and they have their own standards, right?
Yeah, IFC 4 and then?
Yes, and now the last one is the IFC 4, which is kind of, it's not 100% stable. That's why they are now working in the IFC 5, as you know, for more the horizontal infrastructures, let's say, like trains and so on, more horizontal rather than buildings itself. But I would say that Revit, you can export in any of those, like IFC 4, 3x 2x3, or any of those ones, and it's complying with whatever the the Building Smart is asking, and mapping and everything. So all of these things, it's quite possible to export it to comply with all these requirements.
MVD architecture, yes. MVD mechanical, electrical, plumbing, MEP, and MVD structure.
Yes. So all of these now we can comply with everything, and the Autodesk is certified for all this exporting.
Understood. Okay, Sergi.
In Allplan, we have the IFC 2x3 and IFC 4, architectural and structural. That's all.
That's all. Thank you. And now the question of classification is also a short answer. Classification that support If you need to integrate the classification and copy and paste, no problem. Not need to be integrated. You can copy an Excel file, but classification, and if the version that you have right today support the BSDD, the Building Smart Data Dictionary, that is more or less the mapping.
Yeah, well, with Revit you can comply with that one. We have, like by default we have two different ones. We have the Omni class, which is assigned straight away to the objects, and then you can have the keynotes. And the keynotes you can use any classification system. If it's Uniclass, Omni format, master format, whatever. It depends on the way that you want to classify your elements. And for some reason, if you want to use 2 or 3 different ways of classifying elements, then you can start creating parameters. But on that note, it needs to be created manually, like copying and paste from an Excel or whatever, and then you need to do it and assign to the object manually. But by default, we have 2 different ways of classification in Revit.
In Allplan, by default, we don't have, this is something that I miss a lot. We don't have classification systems inside in the box, so you have to import them, and this is a manual process. So, but it's not in the package when you start using Allplan.
Okay, let's go to the collaboration itself. The process of collaborating. The most important thing is if your system is role-based. Now it's more free, okay? The other is more the system and how it works and what you use and etc. You say BIM 360, BIM Plus, fantastic. We are on the top of the question. Now seems to be solved, but you know that it's not really everything solved. We need to increase in work in progress. But which are the roles, if it's role-based, and which are the kind of roles of collaboration? Because the collaboration has the editor or the editor and the reviewer and the observer. Yeah, that's it, in collaboration, okay? But role-based, and which roles are you have the capabilities to integrate the people and give a role in this role, how it works, if it's role-based?
Yeah, so about Revit, there's no, if you are working like straight away from out of the box, I would say, in your network, there's no way to control access to the file itself. So if you have access to the file, you can open and do whatever. Okay, so it's a matter of having access to the file and start doing anything. There's a small tiny control, which is the work sets itself, where I can lock part of the object or of the building or something like that. But I think this is not exactly what you are saying. Okay, so it's more like from the practical, when you are working with the software itself, it's not when accessing to the data or to the model. With the Revit server, it's pretty much the same. So yes, you can kind of control who's accessing to that project, but it's on a project level. Okay, it's not on a specific user. Okay, so it's quite different. It depends the way that you are putting together the system, but still. And then you have BIM 360, which is a cloud-based platform. And the cloud-based platform, you can define the viewers, the editors, the admins, and then you can have different roles. There's a couple of them. It depends exactly what you want them, the users, to be able to do when accessing to the project itself. So it's more like, I would say more integrated on that one. You can define whatever you want.
Okay. In BIM Plus, you have 3 kind of roles. Yeah, admin, editor, and viewer. And this is a very simple way of use different models. Because in BIM Plus, you share models, you don't share files. So you share a model. And in that case, you can edit some, if you have to the role of editor, you can edit part of the models, and that means that you can edit in Allplan. If you have the designer, you can edit the model. But basically, we have these 3 roles: admin, editor, and viewer.
Okay. you both use BCF. This is only a confirmation about the BIM collaboration format. No, don't worry about that. Okay, and something to track. The question is always the same question, but you know, I guess something will be done in the future to increase the tracking, the traceability of you know, the security of the information, who did that and who are doing that. But the Rusty provides, the Rusty is who's responsible, who approves, who is consulted, who is informed, you know, this kind of thing. How we manage this thing, if you manage in some way or not at all, you tell me in your environment, but something, but because always there's something there to control something, okay, or not. Sergi?
We don't have a specific design history of for tracking files.
Not your fault. Not your
Yes.
fault. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because maybe because Allplan doesn't have the save commands, because Allplan saves the file when you open another file or when you just change the visibility of the file. So when you are working in a project within a team, you don't have the history, but at any time you may know who has last worked on that project and when, but that's all. But you don't have the whole history that who has worked in this file for the time.
With Revit, I mean, with Revit, it depends which kind of information or, you know, tracking, you know, information you want to take from there, because there's a few couple of different ways of doing things. So yes, whenever you are saving or synchronizing, when you are working in a work sharing environment, it's possible to go through the history of the file. So if the file is still there, you can see who was the last one synchronizing. They can add notes on top of it. So all this kind of information, yes, you can do it. But if you are using cloud-based system platform, for example, BIM 360, there's there's a tracking system in place, but it's more again on a project level. So whenever you are sharing your model with someone, that sharing, you know, system that they have is being tracked, because there's like a milestone, you know, there's like a stamp say, okay, this was shared by someone from this practice or that practice or whatever on that day. And this packaging, you know, it includes all these, you know, models and information. So this one with BIM 360, it's possible to track. If you want to track as well, for example, more like zooming in, you know, like a coordination issue, because there's a duct clashing with a beam or something, which is like a issue tracking. Okay, on this one, again, Revit doesn't have, but then you have as well, you know, BIM 360, or, you know, we can have different, you know, platforms such as, you know, BIM Track or BIM Collab or whatever,
Yeah.
where you can install on top of it. And then you can import and export the BCF files and do whatever. So it depends if it's on a project wide, transferring, you know, packaging and sharing packages on milestones, you know, exchange or submission, or issues like, you know, duct clashing with the beam, it goes straight to the mechanical and goes straight to the structural engineer. But again, going through the history of it, yes, we have in BIM 360, yes, we have in Revit, if we are on a work sharing environment, which kind of makes sense, because if I'm working alone, it's only me.
Yeah, I guess the architecture of the systems was put in place to solve the problem of the future sharing, was designed for the future, but this is the next future. You know, we are adding something that is important for the corporations, for the owners, for the whole process, for the legal aspects, and then we expect some increase in that question. But let's go to the you are talking about, Decio, now more the issues and the collaboration, and let's go to the co-design, where the reviewers and the consultants and the client, etc., sends the reviews to the editors, that the editors are us, are civil engineers, architects, mechanical, etc. For example, construction managers are reviewers in the early design stage, because they are not designing the project, okay? And project managers and so on. And then there is reviewers and then change in the construction phase to editors, okay? But let's go to the co-design. That is quite important for the IPD and for the collaboration. And how do you, is the process is transparent? Is the process with the stakeholders, with the reviewers is transparent, and no files are created to, the BCF is not a file, but it's an information that is sent to your BIM server, I guess, your BIM Plus or your BIM 360 or your Revit server. Tell me about your co-design system, your collaboration system.
Well, I mean, this, this kind of control or this kind of workflow or this kind of, trust, let's call it this way, it depends on the CDE itself, the common, that environment, rather than the software itself, because it's more controlling where this information goes and how it flows, I would say. And the IPD, as you were saying, like the integrated project delivery, it's more, or the design build, contract, it's a matter of contract itself. So it's the way that we are going to work, all of us in the one single, folder, or in the IPD, it's everything like in the same pot, and everyone goes there and take whatever, and there will be, it's a matter of trusting that this information.
Okay.
So I think, and this is more like who is creating this, environment, like the CDE itself. They can say, okay, everyone can see everything and can access to everything. So from the software point of view, there's no problems whatsoever with that one. And the CDE, which is I'm talking about, or for example, Revit server, or for example, BIM 360, like you can go there and you can access to the all projects. Not with Revit server, but with BIM 360, there's more things, like more value added into the top of only sharing things, because with the BIM 360, you can see the models without having Revit or Navisworks or whatever. You just go there, click in the file, you will see the model itself. You can go through the model, you can go through the sheets, you can add an issue, like, okay, there's an issue because this room is not big enough, or there's no windows, or there's no space for all this, mechanical equipment or whatever. You can just click there in the model or in the sheet, say, I want to add an issue or create a new issue. You can, say, okay, room dimensions, whatever. You can put a description. The platform does a grab shot, like a print screen. It adds on top of the issue itself. And then there's an assignment, assigned parameter where you can just fill in, go to the, architectural, architect, or go to the structure, or go to the mechanical or whomever. And then you can add due dates, say, okay, you have until tomorrow because this is super critical. You have status, we have, all of these traceable things, we have everything. And whatever you are doing, opening, creating, changing, redirecting to a different, like team member or anything, everything is kind of, traced afterwards.
Yeah, your plan is quite similar. So it depends on the kind of collaboration you're doing. For example, the Revit BIM server would be the Allplan share system. That means that the system shared among the designers, those who are really modeling the project and creating files. And then our CDE, I would not say the CDE of Allplan, but it's
don't go down this road, please. That's not the point right now, because it's another system. And okay, but go ahead. But, it's a joke. It's a little joke for me.
Yeah, but when you collaborate with stakeholders and third parties, then you have BIM Plus, where you don't share files, but you share model. And in this model, you have all the information. You can extract Excel files. You can also create issues. You can create tasks. You can attach screenshots. You can direct these tasks to a specific member or modeler who was doing the beams or the walls or etc. And there you have some tracking. But it's about sharing the model. So you cannot edit the model, but you can share the model and use information and extract information from it. So I would say this would be the two different way of
Okay.
Sharing the design.
Let's talk about the clients. Let's talk about the consultants, the people, the lawyers, the people that goes there, and what they see. What I see is not that what I want. Something like was a week, but we can change. But the question is, client goes there and see what don't want, something that do not want at all. And this is not the question of say what I want, because this is not the creator of the project. We are the creators, and then they review and say, that's not my point, but maybe if you can tell you something I don't like and some suggestion. That's the whole, this process is transparent, is no needed, nothing more a tablet, nothing more than a smartphone. You have the system there. Explain which is the solution for the, if have the tablet or the smartphone application, and is reviewing, seeing the model, going there, reviewing and sending in a transparent way, in a direct way to the editor's team. Is that the process on your system?
Yeah, I mean, with BIM 360, which is a web, cloud platform, you can have like a tablet, you can have like a normal, mobile phone, you can have your computer, and then you can see whatever, as I was saying before. So you can just click the model from the architectural. There's a viewer embedded. So if a matter of clicking, you can see the model itself, you can see the design itself. You can put models on top of each other to do like the federated model in the cloud. You can even compare the new version with the previous one or another one. You can see whatever. And all of these, all of this information that flows, if you are the owner, or the way that you are, putting, setting up the hub itself, you can see whatever. But the client just need to have like a mobile phone, like a normal one, and go straight and do whatever. He doesn't need to know Revit. He doesn't need to have a computer. He only needs to have something that connects straight to the internet.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly the same in Allplan. So it's a cloud platform. So anyone with a mobile device can access to the model, access to the viewer, create filters to see what you want to see, what you want to filter. You see the structure of the project, the same as in Allplan. You can open it and activate some files, deactivate others to see the information you need. And it's very transparent. So you can create other files, you can create forms, and it's very easy and share this information to the project team.
Okay, to close this section about collaboration, the second block, I guess I have the conclusion that the future is the software as a service, and there is some issues there about security. We talk about that in the third block. But when you go to the BIM 360 or the new Autodesk Construction Cloud, because it's changing the name, but it's the same. I guess is the question is the same. And BIM Plus or other system are going to the cloud, and then the advantages for the tracking, for the sharing, for the roles are implicit in the system. I don't know if in the future these softwares will be based on platforms and will be software as a service, Revit or the next generation, or Allplan, or the next generation of BIM environments. But the cloud increase, this is my conclusion, okay? And the cloud increase the value for the client, because increased traceability, increased user management, increased security. You thought that this is the way to integrate more services or platform on the cloud, services on the cloud, against the services in the standalone program installed on your computer?
Yeah, I mean, this is the present, future, whatever, like everything that we have at this moment. I think the future will say that we need to have everything in the cloud. And I would say that the majority of the services, which works around our piece of software, which is still in our computer, like for example Revit, we already have like the online version for some of the clients. They have like that you don't even need to have like a proper super powerful computer from your side, so you can access to anywhere. It's not like remoting access, it's like having it in Citrix or whatever installed, and then everyone can access to that one. So they are testing their clients which is using that one. But apart from that one, I mean, all this feasibility and traceability, and even from the legal side of things, the transparency, the easiest way to track everything, it's much way easier. And this is the main goal of doing all these things through the online on this cloud-based platform. There's another few couple of issues, and I think we're going to talk in the third part. But from that, without thinking in the other things that happens around this subject, I would say this is what makes sense. It's much way easier and transparent, actually.
Yeah, I would say with the technology, today's technology, I think we'll have to work in personal computers at home or at the office for big projects using the hardware capabilities of our computer. But of course, all the platforms, and not only Allplan, all the platforms have their own CDE or web cloud platform where you can, upload your models, but you upload your models and then you work on that models on the web. So it's not a instant way of working. So I think by now, at least Allplan that is working with this multi-file system needs your own computer, local computer, to work with large projects. Maybe within a time we'll see a very high-speed internet, and then
or even never, or even
never.
we have a computer and then it's working good, or even working on premise that is a good virtual private server with high speed, graphics, incredible speed graphics, and some part is always high end, and you need virtual reality. Okay, that's interesting to talk about, because with the cloud, I guess we open the owners and the stakeholders to enter in the project with the co-design, and that's the whole point. Let's go to the third block, as you said, Decio, with the security issues, but not like we have a problem, but we have something to look at and to see how it works. But security at the whole levels. Security is the security of the information, the security of the investment, minimize the issues there. Security is somebody that is doing the wrong, but because he's a bad guy, or because he's an incompetent, is somebody that has no idea about how to work, or has a bad day. And let's go home and don't end the thing. Okay, let's talk about this kind of security and traceability. When you are doing bad, you say, Decio, I guess, and you also, Sergi, that when you do wrong, it's better to start over and don't see what happens with each element and change that. Is replace everything, we go to the backup. That's question of the security, the backups that they have, how you recover an issue, especially an issue from somebody that is modeling bad or is creating a mess in the project, no? And is stealing information, this kind of situation. How would you see your environment in this kind of situations, and how it react to this security issues?
As you are saying, this is not a problem. I don't see, well, it's a problem, but not a problem. It's more a kind of a challenge rather than being a problem. Yeah. You know what I mean? That's the point. Because there's a few couple of things from the, because it depends, again, depends on your contract, if it's an IPD, if it's a design build contract, it depends. There's a lot of things that, we need to understand how things are being putting together. But the thing, from my perspective, the security thing is not because I'm going to do wrong things, because everyone does it. So that's not a big issue. And then if something is wrong and I need to recover a backup, which was like 1 month ago, and I'm going to lose 1 month of work, from the client itself, it's not an issue. I mean, he's not going to pay me more because I just lost or I need to redesign or do whatever. So from my perspective, this is not even an issue or a challenge or whatever. This is a normal, day-to-day, I would say, way of working. So it's kind of, kind of okay. Second thing is, again, depending on the contract that we have, and the NDAs, disclosures and everything, again, this is not an issue because everything needs to be covered at some point on a contract level, NDA level, like trust level, whatever. So from me, I'm kind of okay, like sharing everything, which is like part of the contractual bits that we have to put in place. So again, it's not a big problem. The only security, it's not, well, it's not a kind of a security issue. It's more like a legal issue. And the security, it's only because, for example, if the CDE or the information where you have all these kind of workflows, it's yours and it's not mine. You know what I mean? So, and I'm working on your, hub or in your CDE. And then tomorrow, for some reason, you just, cut the wire and it's okay, no more access. That's it. And then I'm kind of, on a very big problem. And why? Because all this traceability that we had before until yesterday, there's no more traceability from my side because you cut it. You still have it, but it's not mine, so I don't have it. And there's no way to have access to that one. So I think, it's more this kind of challenges which we need to be aware, rather than, hiding or, hiding that I did some mistakes here and there, or I'm, taking something from, what am I going to take from your project, from your structural project? Nothing. I don't need anything. It's a completely different, discipline. But if I want, some proofs that you shared with me your model from your discipline 2 weeks after what was, planned, like in the timeline. So, okay, you missed this submission, you give me only 2 weeks after, and this will delay my next submission and so on, like, because this is, everything is kind of traceable, we can track. So on that one, I'm screwed because you are sharing always through the platform. And if you tried, well, you need to have admin rights, which, on a normal case, the client will not going to give you, or no one gives, like admin access
But
to that one.
the BIM manager has.
No,
Not always.
no, not even always. Maybe they have only
Okay.
very specific to your folder, to your work in progress, not from the whole thing, because I can be the BIM manager from a project, but
Yeah,
I can control
sure.
whatever it's part of my bit only, not from the project itself. So the client has access to the architectural, structural, MEP, and so on, all the consultants, but I don't have access, for example, to the MEP or to the landscape or to whatever, unless it's an.
I must add in my BIM manager contract in United States, I must add some, exception or something to cover me from this kind of, you are the BIM manager, but not access to everything. Oh, okay.
Yeah, but again, I mean, it kind of makes sense because, we have like tons of BIM managers all over the place, and not all of them knows how to work properly, and mistakes happens. So if you give admin access to everyone, it's more risky. You know what I mean? So there's a lot of things that needs to be taken into consideration. And again, even if I have access to everything, tomorrow the client, kick me off from there. Say, okay, you don't have any more access because I don't want, because this is mine. And then, again, you are in a very big problem because you don't have access to this information. So what I'm saying, security, it's more if I have access to that information and why someone is taking that information from me, if that makes sense.
In our plan, we have two areas of security. One is security, well, mainly in the project security is based on user management. Indeed, we call it Allplan Workgroup Manager to work on local networks.
Yeah.
Then you can define very specific roles with very specific permissions, who can work in which files, what, etc. And that's clear. But also the security on BIM Plus, which is the network platform, then of course nobody can delete nothing but the admin. This is clear. So in the web platform you can advise, take out some information, but you cannot delete and cannot make any disaster in the model. So I would say that in the workbook manager for work on local networks, then you have to set the roles and the permissions very clear.
So again, so it's pretty much the same thing, because again, you know, I can have permission on a folder level, I can have permissions to a file level, but if I have it to a folder, so that is I can open a file and delete whatever, or a model or anything, I can delete to whatever. So if I have access to those folders, which will grant me access to the file, you know what I mean? So it's a matter of, you know, where you are with your access, let's say. And again, in BIM 360, for example, even if you delete something, the file is still there. It's kept there, so you can restore anytime, and then you can see who's deleting and when was deleted. But again, it can be all this, you know, looks brilliant, perfect, you know, on the world of whatever. But the thing is, that hub, you know, that server, that's whatever, it's not mine. So if it's not mine, if it's someone, they can just cut the access and that's it. Because it's nothing like granted that I will have access in 15, 20 years, you know, because
Yes.
as we know, if there is a problem in 10 years time, because, you know, there's a problem, an issue in the construction, and if I don't have access to do all this history thing to trace exactly, because this go to the lawyers, you know, all of this kind of, you know, legal situation, I don't have access to that one. That's the thing, you know, like what I mean. So it's not like a matter, again, I'm not concerned if someone delete a wall, you know, or I'm more concerned if someone didn't deliver what was supposed to be delivered on that specific day, and that caused, you know, all this messy, you know, big problem that we have now. And then we might need to pay like a fine because someone did something and I cannot prove because I don't have the data with me. You know what I mean? Because it's from the client, it's from you, it's from Serge, it's from myself. And I said, no,
violating you need the IPD.
Yeah,
because
exactly.
it's violating something, and
but even
you can prosecute.
But Gustav, even if you have the IPD, if you have a project like the IPD, so who's going to buy or to set up the server itself, the CDE, let's say, who is going to set up that one?
Well, somebody, the BIM manager that is working for the client, that's the only way, you
exactly.
know?
So
the BIM manager for the owner, the whole.
So it comes from the client. That's the point.
It
comes from the client. If the client cuts everything from here underneath them, no one has access.
Okay, but that's why the IPD is put in place, because it's not really, the owner is not really part of the IPD project entity.
Depends
and that's
on the
whole point. Is for example, in this case, the project entity is the owner. In the IPD is the owner of the infrastructure and the responsible, okay, of the infrastructure, the whole team. But this is arising. This is not an issue. This is a real discussion with real people, as the watchers can see that this is prioritized in this kind of situations. But one question, sorry, Sergi, start with you. You want to make a comment about that, or I can?
No, I think it's common in all platforms. I mean, the web cloud systems work like this. I mean, who is the admin, who creates the users and permissions. So.
But nobody asks themselves in the project which are who managed that in 30 years.
Yeah.
Okay.
Again, this is again as I was saying before. This is a matter of contractual. You know, IPD for me, it's only the contract itself which is different. Well, it's not only the contract, but the contract, you know, drives the whole process. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So that's the main thing.
Yeah. Let's return to the catastrophic situations which is the worst catastrophic situation in the past 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, and the time to recover for the people that use the system or build or trust on the system to know is solid, and which is the worst experience, and how many time will you put in place to recover the issue?
Well, I had like, it was a funny one because what happened once is, in the BIM 360, someone just delete the whole hub, everything, because the hub was using his email ID. And because he didn't want to have his email ID, he deleted everything. So on that specific moment, there was no projects whatsoever in BIM 360 because it just deleted and killed everything. So we need to, contact Autodesk and say, look, if this happens, so can you please set up the whole thing again? But this, like restoring things, it took a while. I don't recall how long it took, but it took a while, because it depends the amount of projects that you have and so blah, blah, blah. And it was not only one project. So as you can see, you have 10, 20, 50, I don't remember how many projects we had. And someone said, okay, I don't want my email here. So the only way is, do you want to delete your hub? Yes, do. You clicked and then you're screwed.
Okay, you discover the wrong, the
because,
worst way.
because then someone was complaining that the project was not there anymore. It's not only one, like it's tons of people.
Thank you for joining us, because I am very confident that it's quite weird and so rare. Okay.
That's what I'm saying. So having this admin rights, you know what I mean? So like doing this kind of basic mistakes, it's not, it can't happen. That's
the whole point of the BIM managers, no? That's the whole point of a BIM manager, to be the CTO of the project and has the rights and the duty and administration.
Yeah. But still.
Thank you. Thank you. Sergi?
What's well, a catastrophic case in Allplan is happening sometimes when you are uploading files to BIM Plus from Allplan Share, and you don't have a good access to internet, and because all the files are uploaded and encrypted, if there is any interruption of the uploading system, then the files are corrupted, and then there is no way to recover it because they are encrypted. So they're all, I think, I remember one time that we had also to call Nemetschek, and the guys of BIM Plus could recover the files with some work in their site. And but this is something.
How many times? Which percent of time do you estimate this kind of issues? 1%, 5%, 0.1%?
No, I wouldn't say any percentage, but it depends on the connection, internet connection you have, and because of, yes, Allplan makes before uploading, it makes a local copy, but sometimes when uploading in some files, they are encrypted. If the system crashes or the internet connection crashes, then you lost information, and there is no way to recover it. So you have to call the vendor.
So often? Happens so often?
I would say, for my experience in previous trainings that I have done with several teams that worked online, etc., maybe one time per year or one time per team, it happened because one of the team members didn't have a good connection, and that can happen, yes.
Okay, and then it's an issue to use a bad internet connection can create some issues. Okay, this it's important to know.
You have to have a bad internet connection and some kind of bad chance when the Allplan create the backup. So you have to have very, very bad chance in
okay,
losing information.
Something to look at. Okay, cybersecurity. We go into the in section to the question of this encryptation, this kind of hacking, this kind of bad guys entering and going to the information and you know, and I guess it's not a problem of corrupting the information, it's getting the information from you and stealing information from a US Air Force base in Spain or in, you know, in the Mediterranean or in Turkey or something like that. You know, that's something bad, really bad. You know, but cybersecurity, how it works on your system, the relationship between each computer and the system, and if it's secure, in your opinion.
Well, from my opinion, this is a very sensitive, topic, because we really, really, really need to have something in place, and even today, in our days, now that we have with all this pandemic situation, which we have all the companies, working online. So, if you don't have, if you don't pay attention to this, sensitive, access and everything, you might end up on a very, very big problem, because there's a lot of people accessing remotely to the, to the servers, and you need to control. There's a lot, there's a lot on a daily basis that tries to access to the networks all over the place. And we know again that it's happening. We heard like some of the big, companies like architectural and not only architectural, all over the place, that they've been hacked, and they are, asking for a lot of money, like, like super, super, super expensive, how do you say, payments, like just to recover all this data. So yes, this is something that, and it depends, again, depends of, of the practice itself. It's, like depend of the contract, the confidentiality that you have in the project itself. It's if it's more sensitive, less sensitive, and so on. So yes, we need to have like a proper way of tracing and checking everything, just to make sure that only us, I mean, who has access to the data can access to the servers, and then they can see and access to whatever that data is available in our systems. So this is a very, and there's a lot of systems in place, like the single sign-on, it's one of them, because it will guarantee that no one, like if someone is leaving the practice itself, they will cut access, from the Active Directory, and everything will be, um, um, removed regarding that one. The multi-factors. So all of this, and this is small things that we need to be aware, like the most, simple ways of tracking or controlling the cybersecurity thing. But again, this is a very super massive problems that we have in place, not only from our side, but also, like the Amazon servers. We all know that everyone is using the AWS, whatever systems from Amazon. We have, all these practices which they have their, cloud softwares or whatever stored in any, of the servers. There's a lot of certification for the quality control.
Talking about more privacy now.
Yes. And even, like, and then they have this ISO 27001 and 9000 whatever, and then in US it's different from Europe. And then, even having now, for example, from the Autodesk side, that they have servers in Europe, at least they will be complying with the ISO 27001 regarding security and cybersecurity and so on. So all of this is something that, we need to be super careful. And again, depends on where you are with this, all this confidentiality, information that you have in your practice, in your office.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, I'm not an expert in cybersecurity, but the only thing I can say is that in Allplan, all the servers are in Europe, and that all the information that is uploaded encrypted, as I said, and that can be only opened and edited with proper permissions. So I think the rest is the same. It's a common problem for cybersecurity in any kind of platform. So at least we know that the servers of Nemetschek are in Europe, so we are managed by the European rules, and nothing else. That's all I can say about cybersecurity.
Wait, okay. We are talking about privacy in this case because you go down this road, but not cybersecurity. But I go to the cybersecurity. Are the communication encrypted between the station, the personal station, and the workplace and the server? And the security of the communications are not hacking, are not are interfere.
In my case, yes.
With BIM 360 or the Revit server or so on. Okay, Sergi, go on.
Yes. As said, the information is encrypted, and yes, only people who has permissions and access to the project can view, edit, or view or edit it. And yes, of course, you always got a backup before uploading the file. So there is this kind of security in local machines.
I mean, yeah, from Autodesk, it's pretty much the same. I mean, whatever, like,
yeah.
For me, like, not having something in place with regard to security and cybersecurity, and it's not only having like a password, because the password can be hacked anytime, Yeah. So, small things like the multi-factor, it's a very small, tiny, but very big thing at the very end, because it's not only a matter of one password and everyone goes in. But again, all this access and things, this is related with this, ISO, whatever, certification that you need to have in place. Apart from that one, all the information, how it goes and comes and so on. I mean, I don't know. I'm not one expert, to go into those details. But again, this is something that the companies need to be aware, and this is something that it's happening.
Yeah.
And this is important to know that this will happen at some point. So we need to be very careful with all this information. And it's not only a password that will protect whatever we have, in there. And again, even in Amazon, the Amazon servers, they have different layers of, security. So again, if you have, even if it's in Amazon, it's not proof enough to know that you have this proper, like security in place. It depends where you are with this security, because even that one, they are super clear.
A lot of things from the software makers to create the cloud, and then you choose the kind of and the level, and the IT and some the BIM manager to be an IT expert, to know all these things and how to manage all these security issues. Let's go to the fourth, because we talk about the privacy and the servers going Europe, the United States, etc. Okay, let's go to the fourth block. That is a question of we have the eco-efficiency, that is decision making, and then the IPD. Your system is ready for the IPD. The first question is the 4D, 5D, and 7Ds. The time, the cost, and the sustainability. The three things that is delivering some information for the decision making of the client, and say, okay, this is all cost, and I evaluate the cost of the construction and the cost of the operations, and I see different alternatives, and I take a decision about the whole thing. The 4D, the 5D, and 7D, how it comes to us when we use your environment. Internal, interoperability, usually you use elsewhere application. Tell us about this kind of 4D, 5D, and 7D delivery.
Okay, so yeah, with Revit itself, again, I mean, users need to start thinking that Revit or any software that I know or am aware, it does the whole thing, And from Revit itself, the good thing is that, you can interact, or you can have this interoperability in between different pieces of softwares, which allow you to get easier, faster, and more accurate way to whatever you want to be doing. So what I want to say is, from Revit itself, like this piece of software, yes, you can have costs, which is a 5D. You can have kind of project phases, which is related with kind of 4D. But again, 4D, it's more like in Revit we can control like in a refurbishment or construction, like this block phase A, phase 2, and phase 3.
Yeah.
And it's not that much related, for example, with the site construction itself, because the phase A, they will be start building from the first level, basement, whatever, outside, inside. So it depends where you can go. So I would say like all this information, some of them you can do from Revit, but I would say it's much way easier and faster and more accurate if you export to specific softwares. For example, Navisworks, it's one of them, but it can be exported through IFC, and then you can use anywhere, like in Synchro, you can use Solibri, you can use whatever old piece of software that you have in the market, which is fine. But the thing is, in Revit, it's kind of you can do it, but it's not like like in a very specific and deep way.
Not bad, only to know.
Yeah.
Only to check.
From the sustainability side, again, in Revit, you can have, or you can add some data into the model, location. It's going to read, the weather stations where you can see all this environment, like average temperature, average, and whatever. Or again, and this is the only thing that you will be doing. And then on top of that one, you will be adding materials, you'll be adding, the building elements, walls, doors, and so on, which at the end you will have like a lot of data into your model. But then the calculations that it will take in consideration all this information, you need to export this to someone else. And exporting this information to someone else, it can be to Insight from Autodesk, which is a cloud-based platform where it can read whatever you have in there, depending of the stage. If you are in an earlier stage where you have masses, or if you are in DD, or like design development, which is like almost before the construction, the documentation, and then you can say, okay, take in consideration this information. Or you can have the third option, which is exporting that data from your model. It doesn't matter if it's RVTs, Excel spreadsheets, GBXMLs, or whatever. And then other, third-party software, you can import that information, that geometry and everything, and then you can do all your calculations.
Yeah. But you deliver whatever with OpenBIM, no problem.
Yes,
but Insight
exactly.
is inside the Autodesk world.
The Insight, yes, it's
universe. And okay.
Yeah, so in that case, you will be using the Insight software, which is a cloud-based platform, and then you can use all this information, which is pushed into the cloud, do your calculations, and then you'll have a report.
In Allplan, there are third-party solutions for 4D, 5D, 7D. Some are owned by the Nemetschek group, but not by Allplan's developer. For example, DDS-CAD, which is a solution for different kind of systems, HVAC, etc. Some others are integrated, like AX3000, which has the same solutions but integrated in Allplan. So there are different solutions for 4D, 5D, and 7D, not for 4D, but see for 7D and 5D. Especially, for example, in Spain, Allplan is well connected with different budget platforms to connect with Allplan and to interact with the Allplan data, and that's quite interesting. But for D and 7D, same as Revit, I think I export it in OpenBIM format, and you do the job in the
not a problem. I guess the conclusion, you interrupt me, and we are open. We are at the end of the presentation, and then from my point of view, we are talking about, like Decio says, it's okay. There is no one solution that has everything. If there is only one solution, we are all happy, and we are living in a happy world, and in this fantastic, this is paradise. But this is not the truth. The truth is a work in progress where and there's emerging things. On the other side, OpenBIM is working. There is a lot of good pieces of software, as you say, systems that develops 5D, cost, time, and then delivers the question with the right being used with other people, and then we deliver for the time, cost, and sustainability. All is cost at the end, because you develop in more time, but it's less expensive because of whatever, you don't know. You evaluate the cost, and then you see, because working on winter in Germany is not the same that working on winter in Malaga, Spain. I guess it's not the same question. Or in Boston from Florida. Okay, Florida, maybe this the week of the hurricanes, you are in the wet season is a little crazy, but only 1 week, I guess. Okay, and then go to the IPD. And the question is so simple. What's your opinion? Is your system and all the that are around is prepared and is confident for the client for the IPD, and the IPD can be contracted and is already all set up, ready for the IPD? Your opinion?
Yeah, I would say from
Or your
Autodesk.
system, okay?
Yeah, I would say that from Autodesk, as far as I'm aware, I would say that yes, it's all prepared to be used. I think again, it's a matter. Sometimes it's a matter more not from the technology side, but more from the company side. Now, because the technology is there, ready to be used. I mean, I think it's feasible, and we can do it straight away.
Yeah, by the Nemetschek Group, I think it's the same. Through the BIM Plus platform, access to the design is allowed to collaborators and who can contribute their ideas from the initial design phases. So I think yes, it's ready for the IPD.
Okay, and you have experience in IPD projects, Sergi, Decio? Start with you, Sergi.
I would say
the
that
client's request and your experience.
I would say that not many people knows about IPD, know about BIM, know about collaboration, know about cloud platforms, but the concept of IPD, I think you have to explain the client and the customer and the stakeholders what is IPD, and once they understand what is IPD, that can collaborate from the initial phases, and then you show them the platform, and they like very much, and they appreciate it. But I think it's a step that the time will say that if it's introduced in
always doing the job,
also in the owners.
From my side, yes, I already work in an IPD project. On that time, it was maybe 4 years ago. It was a very complex and massive project. Almost everything worked, but talking about only the technology side, and because we were using a VDI system, we had some issues with that one, like not from Revit itself, but from the third parties, like softwares which it doesn't work on a VDI system. So that was one of the issues that we had. And then, then it's a matter of, people behaving or companies behaving. But again, this is nothing that the technology will solve.
Okay, that's the question. The final question is, what is missing here for the success of the IPD? Technology or people?
People. I think from my side, to be honest with you, it's people. Always ends up in people, always. The main problems that I have, it's not with the technology. Well, the main. It's not, I have a lot of problems with the technology every single day, like every single day there's an issue with something.
Okay.
But with people, it's much more like, it's about training, skilling people, mentoring people, explaining over and over and over again. This is like over and over. That's why now I'm kind of, being involved in the training thing, because, you can have like a super perfect workflows and systems in place and softwares and computers and everything, but nothing works if there's no people with the certain skills that drives the process. It doesn't matter if it's BIM managers, BIM coordinators, Revit technicians, like BIM specialists, whatever you want to call. they will always, like have, and come across with the same issues, because if they don't know how to do things, it doesn't matter. It's like the F1, the Formula One, competitions. You can know how to drive it, but maybe you don't know. Maybe, well, I know how to drive, but for sure I don't know how to drive like a Formula One, like Ferrari or anything. Like, it's impossible. I will be not even the last one. They'll give me like 5 turns, and I'll be finishing the first one. So it doesn't matter. You can be, you can know how to work with Revit, but there's a much more things that you need to know to be engaged with. And if you're not, it doesn't work.
Yes, I do agree. I mean, it's a BIM methodology that has to be assumed by everybody that is participating in the project.
The question of the BIM methodologies and BIM models are the right question, because you demonstrate here. Thank you, Decio, and thank you, Sergi. That this is not the point. People from the technology and the modeling are prepared to do that. The modeling and the experts are prepared, but we need the other people that are coming to the industry to understand, and we need to explain out of the industry. The box of the industry is going out and explain. And so thank you for confirming that Revit and Allplan, and this comparison is quite interesting, because we start from the point that these two different systems from the architecture point, and then we change, and there is a lot of questions there that arise, need of skills and good examples, but change the paradigm here. Thank you, both of you, Decio Ferreira and Sergio Ferrater. Thank you, and see you
Thank you,
next
Gustavo.
event. Okay,
Thank you.
thank you so much.
Thank you, Gustavo, and thank you, Sergio, for your time, guys.
Thank you, Decio.
Hopefully
Bye-bye.
we'll be seeing in soon.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Cheers.
See
Bye.
you.
Bye. Bye.